Hey guys, D-Pad Danny back again, and this time we're talking about a nice casual platformer. Felix the Cat for the NES by Hudson Soft.
That's right, Felix the Cat. Felix began as a silent film star in 1919 before showing up in the funny pages in the early 1920s. He continued to star in a few cartoons in the 50s, and then was brought back again in the late 80s for an animated feature film. This is where I first met him, as I rented it a time or two as a kid. He showed up here and there a few times after that, but has yet to hit that stride of popularity he once had.
Well, at least the movie must have been popular enough to warrant a video game release. Is that a good thing? Yeah, I think so, because this is a fun one.
Felix's lady friend Kitty Cat has been kidnapped by the conniving professor. He's holding her ransom for Felix's magic bag of tricks. This bag has amazing unknown powers, and the professor wants it bad. Felix is like, nah bro, and sets out to rescue Kitty Cat. Felix is granted the use of all sorts of different power-ups by the previously mentioned magic bag. For example, here in level 1 he starts with a punching glove, but he can power up to stuff like this Land Rover that has a projectile shot. Bow! The maximum power-up here is a tank that also has a projectile. Throughout the levels there's these Felix icons that you need to collect. After collecting 10 of them, a heart will drop. These are what power you up. If you get a heart when you're fully powered up, you'll net an extra life. You can also get an extra life for every 50,000 points on your score. Your power-ups don't last forever. The hearts in the top left-hand corner of the screen depict how much longer you have before you lose it and go back to your base attack. You can get more time with your power-ups by collecting milk jars that fall after collecting 5 of the Felix heads. There's a lot of enemies around, but most of them seem innocent enough. You know, stuff like small creatures of various types, and these creepy walking trees. Yeesh. There's also sometimes springs and these larger magic bags as well. These act in a similar fashion to pipes in Super Mario Bros. Some will take you to a bonus room with extra Felix heads, and some will take you to different areas in the stage. So why doesn't the professor just grab one of these? Why does he specifically need the one that Felix has? After a few stages, you come to the first boss. It's Poindexter, the professor's nephew, and he does not pose a challenge. On to the next area, and here you're presented with a whole new set of power-ups. You start off with the punching glove again, but this time you can fly around with a parasol. You can upgrade to a Felix balloon and throw some discs like it's spring break. Eventually, you'll pilot a biplane. Zoom! Enemies out here among the tops of the pyramids are mostly cannons, and these little guys wearing sombreros, I guess? Once inside, you'll switch back to your land-based power-ups and take on the canine Rock Bottom. Yes, that is his name, and yes, I am looking all of this up on Wikipedia. He's really not much of a challenge either. In fact, the game overall isn't super difficult. I found that most of the time when I died it was due to a mistake I made, or I lost a roll on a trust fall. You can get around this though, as it's pretty easy to gain extra lives if you keep powered up and keep collecting those Felix heads. If you manage to lose all your lives, you can continue up to 3 times. After that, you'll have to start the game over. Huh, I guess that's why they call it that. But hey, the game over screen is pretty cool. Anyway, back to Rock Bottom here. Like I said, he's not too hard, and we're moving on again. This time to a mountainous kind of area where you'll fight Master Cylinder, a robot created to destroy Felix. A job that he sucks at. This is the general flow of the game. You'll play through a few stages, fight a boss, then do it again in another area. In between each world, the professor will call Felix. This part I really don't understand. If Felix is out and about on his way to rescue Kitty, why the hell does he go home after every stage? This seems counterproductive. Look, here's an above water level. You get a lazy river raft. How relaxing. But then you get a fire-breathing dolphin. Roar! The next stage has you going under the water where you get this turtle. Here you'll encounter the most dangerous thing in the game. Bubbles. You know, I gotta say, I'm not sure if it's just me or what, but the way you propel yourself when swimming feels kinda different than the way you ascend while flying. In most games the mechanic would be the same, but here they feel distinct. This really shows that little bit of extra care that Hudson Soft put into the game. If they are indeed different anyway. Otherwise, I could just be crazy. Honestly, it's a 50-50. The final water upgrade is this Felix submarine. A lot of these power-ups remind me of Puss in Boots, also for the NES. That's not as good of a game as this one. The boss here is Gulpo, and he uses those deadly bubbles. Otherwise, he's pretty much just a reskin of the level 3 boss. The visuals, as you've seen, are somewhat simple, but look really appealing. Little touches of charm here and there help keep things entertaining. Look at these frozen fish, that's hilarious! There's smiling blocks all around and even messages from Kitty scattered in the background. One thing I thought was pretty neat was that when you pause, the environmental effects still go through their animations. You know, like the waves or the snow. Brrr. This kind of stuff really makes the stages feel alive. As for the music, it's not bad. I didn't find any of the songs particularly memorable, but nothing seems out of place, and it's overall enjoyable. Closing in towards the end of the game, the last few stages send you through a prehistoric type area, the frozen fish stage, and ultimately into space as you approach the professor's hideout. This level is pretty fun, and the only time in the game that you get to use this cool spaceship. Sometimes these alien guys come out of nowhere though, so there's definitely the potential for some cheap deaths. On the surface of, I guess, whatever planet the professor's base is on, everything's all topsy-turvy. The sky is red and starry, and those smiley blocks are now Octoroks. There's also Octoroks on the ground. That's right, Felix the cat exists in the Zelda universe. Confirmed. The professor's base is similar in feel to the previous pyramid stages, but now everything's made of gold and there's grape soda all over the place. Now it's time for the final showdown. The professor will fly around in his Professimobile gunning for Felix. He also has a high-arcing projectile. Once you get a feel for his movement pattern, you can kind of manipulate him around the room while you get your shots in. He can withstand a lot of damage, so every little mistake can cost you. With a little patience, though, you'll defeat him, and Kitty Cat will be rescued and the world saved, I guess? Felix the Cat is a charming and enjoyable platforming romp that's good for all ages. It's accessible enough for the newbies, but there's enough here that'll keep gaming veterans engaged as well. It's not the cheapest game on the console, but if you can find it for a good price, I'd say grab it.
Well, that's Felix the Cat for the NES. I really enjoyed this game, and I feel like if you give it a try, you might like it too. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching. As always, I'm G-Pad Danny. I'll see you next time.